The mahogany-paneled boardroom of Maxwell Industries buzzed with the usual morning ritual, my stepfather Richard Maxwell and his inner circle congratulating themselves on another quarter of mediocre performance while I sat in my assigned corner, supposedly taking notes as the junior analyst. Ms. Maxwell, my assistant James texted, Sterling and Partners confirms the acquisition is complete. All signatures verified. Announcement ready. I touched the vintage watch my father had left me before his fatal accident, a Patek Philippe that Richard had claimed was lost, along with most of my inheritance. Tonight, Emma Maxwell, the stepdaughter they'd relegated to menial tasks, would reveal herself as the CEO of Sterling and Partners, the investment firm that had just acquired controlling interest in Maxwell Industries. Emma, darling, Richard's condescending voice cut through my thoughts. Be a dear and fetch more coffee for the board members. My stepsister Amanda snickered from her unearned position as Chief Strategy Officer. At least she's good for something. Harvard Business School really was wasted on her. 5 years ago such casual cruelty would have stung. But that was before I'd built Sterling and Partners into a financial powerhouse, before I'd systematically acquired Maxwell Industries shares through various shell companies, before I'd positioned myself to take control of the company my father had built and Richard had nearly destroyed. Of course, I smiled, noting how my calm seemed to irritate them. More coffee coming right up. As I moved toward the executive coffee station, I heard Amanda's carrying whisper. Can you believe she still lives in that tiny apartment? Daddy should have never let her keep even that junior position. If they'd bothered to verify my modest lifestyle, they might have noticed that the tiny apartment was actually the penthouse of a building I owned. That Sterling and Partners had been systematically buying up Maxwell Industries stock for years. That their comfortable positions were about to become very uncomfortable. Through the glass walls I saw my legal team arriving. James had orchestrated their entrance perfectly, right when Richard would be announcing his latest strategic vision for the company. Now, Richard stood straightening his Italian silk tie. I'm pleased to announce that Maxwell Industries is entering a new era of... The boardroom doors opened. My lead counsel, Sarah Chin, walked in with an unmistakable air of authority, followed by a team of lawyers carrying leather portfolios. I apologize for the interruption, Sarah announced clearly, but there's an urgent matter requiring immediate attention. Richard's face darkened. Young lady, this is a private board meeting. Security. Actually, Sarah smiled, distributing documents to each board member. This meeting now falls under new ownership protocols. Sterling and Partners has acquired controlling interest in Maxwell Industries, effective as of 9 a.m. this morning. The room went silent. Coffee cups froze midway to lips. Amanda's designer pen clattered to the floor. Sterling and Partners? Richard scoffed. Impossible. They're the largest private equity firm in Asia. Their CEO is standing right here, I said quietly, setting down the coffee pot. Hello, father. Surprised to see me out of my corner? His custom-made coffee mug crashed to the floor, shattering like his illusion of control. This is absurd, Amanda sputtered. You're nobody. Just Daddy's charity case. I smiled, channeling years of patience into this moment. Actually, dear sister, I'm your new boss. The stunned silence that followed was broken only by the sound of Sarah opening her briefcase, producing more documents that would reshape Maxwell Industries forever. Perhaps, I continued, moving to the head of the table, we should discuss the company's real financial situation. The one you've been hiding from the board. Richard's face went from red to white. You can't possibly know about the missing pension funds? The offshore accounts? The systematic way you've been bleeding my father's company dry? I gestured to the screens around the boardroom. Let's review the actual numbers, shall we? James activated the displays, showing years of financial manipulation and corporate malfeasance that my team had meticulously documented. Board members began shifting uncomfortably as they realized the extent of their oversight failures. When my father died, I addressed the board directly. Richard here convinced you that I was too young, too inexperienced to take my rightful place in the company. That he would be a better steward of Maxwell Industries' legacy. I pulled up more data, the company's declining market share, failed projects, and vanishing profits under Richard's leadership. 6 years later, our stock price has dropped 60%. Our best talent has fled to competitors, and our innovation pipeline is dry. Meanwhile, Richard and his family have somehow managed to acquire multiple mansions, private jets, and a rather impressive collection of art that technically belongs to the company. Amanda stood up, her designer outfit suddenly seeming like a costume. This is ridiculous. You can't just walk in here and... Actually, I can, I cut her off. You see, while you were busy mocking my tiny apartment and junior position, I was building something your father never could, a company based on merit instead of manipulation. The morning sun streamed through the boardroom windows, casting harsh light on faces that had suddenly lost their smug certainty. The leather portfolios Sarah had distributed contained irrefutable evidence of years of mismanagement and fraud. James, I nodded to my assistant, who began the detailed presentation we'd prepared. Let's show the board exactly what's been happening to their company. This is a hostile takeover, Richard declared, trying to maintain his authority even as his world crumbled. The board won't stand for it. Hostile? I raised an eyebrow. No, what's hostile is how you've treated this company. Shall we discuss the R&D budget you diverted to your wife's interior design business? Or perhaps the contracts mysteriously awarded to Amanda's boyfriend's consulting firm? The screens filled with transaction records, each one a damning indictment of their mismanagement. Board members began flipping through their portfolios with increasing alarm. Ms. Maxwell, James announced, the forensic audit summary is ready. Several board members gasped as the full scope of financial manipulation became clear. Years of creative accounting and hidden losses exposed in pristine detail. But your position here, Amanda stammered. We've watched you for years, doing nothing but basic analysis. I smiled. Basic analysis that gave me insight into every weakness, every vulnerability, every fraud you thought you were hiding. Did you never wonder why a Harvard MBA would accept such a menial role? Richard's face contorted with rage. Your father would never have allowed this. He understood family loyalty. The room went deadly quiet. Everyone knew the suspicious circumstances surrounding my father's death. The brake failure that had never been properly investigated, the missing financial records, the hastily changed will. Family loyalty? I stepped closer, my voice carrying in the silence. Like the loyalty you showed when you married my mother 6 months after Dad died? When you systematically pushed me out of my own company? When you used my inheritance to fund your gambling habits? The screens displayed more damning evidence. The systematic way they'd undermined the company's foundations, replaced experienced executives with family friends, and stripped assets for personal gain. You see, I continued as James highlighted key figures, while you were busy playing corporate royalty, I was building something real. Sterling and Partners didn't just buy your shares. We bought every company you weakened, every partnership you destroyed, every opportunity you wasted. My stepfather lunged for his phone, likely trying to reach his lawyers. Sarah smoothly intercepted the device. Already taken care of, she smiled. Your legal team received our documentation an hour ago. They're probably still trying to process how thoroughly they've been outmaneuvered. Amanda's face had lost its designer-enhanced glow. But the family trust, our positions. Our forfeit, I finished. The trust was drained years ago by your father. As for your positions. I gestured to the waiting HR team outside the boardroom. I believe the phrase is, immediate termination for cause. Richard finally found his voice. You can't do this to me. I made this company what it is. Yes, I agreed coldly, you did. You made it a shadow of what my father built. Let me show you exactly how far Maxwell Industries has fallen under your leadership. James activated another presentation, a devastating comparison of the company's performance before and after my father's death. The board members' expressions shifted from shock to anger as they realized how thoroughly they'd been deceived. When Dad died, I addressed the board directly. You believed Richard's lies about my capabilities, about my commitment, about my right to be here. I touched my father's watch. Did none of you wonder why I stayed? Why I accepted every humiliation, every insult, every demeaning task? The room remained silent as the truth dawned on them. Every coffee run, every corner assignment, every menial task had been part of a longer game. Your father, Richard spat, was a fool who never understood real power. Wrong words. Several board members who'd known my father personally stood up in protest. Real power. I laughed softly. Let me show you real power. I nodded to James, who activated the final presentation. This is what Maxwell Industries will become under proper leadership. Under my leadership. The next hour transformed both Maxwell Industries and my family's understanding of true power. The boardroom, once Richard's theater of control, became the stage for his complete undoing. Sarah, I nodded to my counsel, please distribute the complete audit findings. The leather portfolios landed with heavy thuds before each board member. Richard's face grew paler with each page turned, each gasp of shock, each murmur of disbelief. Page 47, I directed, details how company funds were diverted to personal accounts. Page 89 shows the systematic gutting of our R&D division. And page 124. I paused, letting the tension build, documents every falsified board report for the past 6 years. This is fabricated, Richard sputtered, but his trembling hands betrayed him. You've manipulated these numbers to show the truth? I cut him off. Like the truth about Dad's brake lines? Or the truth about his supposedly lost research files? The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. Board member Harrison Chin, my father's oldest friend, leaned forward. What about Thomas's research files? I touched my father's watch, feeling its weight, the weight of justice delayed but not denied. James, show them Project Phoenix. The screens filled with data. My father's last project, the innovative clean energy technology that had mysteriously vanished after his death. The same technology that had recently emerged, slightly modified in one of Richard's private ventures. Impossible, Amanda whispered. Those files were destroyed in the office fire. The convenient fire in the R&D section? I smiled grimly. Dad kept backups. In the same safe where he kept this watch, the one Richard claimed was lost. James brought up more documents, insurance reports, security logs, and bank transfers that painted a damning picture of corporate sabotage and personal greed. Ms. Maxwell, he announced, the SEC investigators are waiting in the lobby. Richard lunged for the door, but Sarah's team smoothly blocked his exit. Running won't help, I informed him. Every account is frozen. Every asset tracked. Every escape route closed. You can't prove anything, he blustered, but his eyes darted frantically around the room. The board won't. The board has already voted, Harrison Chin interrupted, holding up his signed proxy. Emergency session called 10 minutes ago. Unanimous decision to cooperate with all investigations. Amanda collapsed into her chair, her perfectly manicured facade cracking. Daddy, what did you do? What he always does, I answered for him. Takes what isn't his, destroys what he can't control, and runs when consequences arrive. The screens now showed Maxwell Industries' new organizational structure. A complete overhaul that would restore my father's vision of innovation and integrity. Your father, Richard made one last attempt, would have understood business necessity. Business necessity? I activated a final recording, security footage from the night before my father's accident. Richard in the company garage, toolbox in hand. Like the necessity of eliminating obstacles. The color drained from his face as his own voice filled the room. Once Thomas is gone, the company is mine. That stupid daughter of his won't know what hit her. Harrison Chin stood up so quickly his chair crashed backward. You murdered Thomas. Attempted murder, Sarah corrected, producing more documents. The brake line was cut, but it wasn't the cause of death. We have proof of a more direct method. Richard's composure finally shattered. You don't understand. The company was failing. Thomas was too focused on his clean energy dreams, on his precious legacy. Someone had to take control. The company wasn't failing, I stated quietly. It was evolving. Like it's about to evolve again. James displayed the final presentations, Maxwell Industries' new direction under Sterling and Partners. Clean energy patents restored, innovation teams rebuilt, ethical leadership reinstated. When you forced me into that corner, I addressed Richard directly, you thought you were displaying power. You were actually teaching me patience. Every coffee run showed me who really ran departments. Every menial task gave me access to restricted areas. Every insult strengthened my resolve. The security team entered, not company security but federal agents. Richard's shoulders slumped as the handcuffs clicked into place. Your father's legacy, he spat as they led him away, will die with your bleeding heart management style. I touched the watch one last time, feeling its steady tick, like my father's unwavering integrity. No, Richard. His legacy lives in every patent you stole, every innovation you buried, every principle you violated. And now it lives in me. Amanda remained, tears streaking her expensive makeup. What happens to us? You have two choices, I replied. Face charges as co-conspirators or cooperate fully and start from the bottom. Real work. Real merit. Real growth. The sun had fully risen now, its light filling the boardroom where my father had once dreamed of changing the world. Harrison Chin approached, his eyes bright with unshed tears. Thomas would be proud, he said softly. Not just of what you've accomplished but of how you did it. I looked out at the city skyline, where Maxwell Industries' clean energy technology would soon transform the urban landscape. The best revenge isn't destruction, I murmured. It's resurrection. The board meeting that had started with me in the corner ended with a new era for Maxwell Industries. Richard's reign of greed and corruption gave way to innovation and integrity. The stepdaughter he'd tried to diminish had become the leader who would fulfill her father's vision. James, I called out, schedule a company-wide meeting. It's time everyone learned what Maxwell Industries really stands for. The watch ticked steadily on my wrist, its rhythm matching the pulse of positive change flowing through the company. Somewhere my father was smiling, knowing that his true legacy, the courage to stand up for what's right, had found its rightful heir.